by using more aspects of the Force and kind of being like, well, we're not going to follow the same rules as the prequel trilogy or the originals, and kind of just go along with, like, oh, I can't use the Force powers because then I'm on dark side. Instead of actually, he was like, oh no, I'll rather use all these powers and then have my ability as a Jedi to dictate remaining in the light or not, just by not being a bad person, instead of being afraid of, oh, if I do this, then I'm a bad guy, or if I do this, I'm a good guy. He was more so, and that's what I liked about Luke, and that's what I was hoping we would have seen in The Last Jedi, that he was just more so powerful in his choices, at least.
The funny thing about this is, I find that, like, at this point we get into the interesting nature of, like, political systems falling apart, as opposed to the Jedi fell too far into the light, and that's what their, like, problem was in the prequels.
Yeah.
I would argue, like, that's I find the prequels super interesting for the fact that they show, like, how a system can fall apart from the inside. But I wouldn't want to discount as well that the most evil son of a bitch in history was the one that was controlling things from the inside. That also matters.
Yeah.
So like that. Yeah. That's why when I see that George has said, like, get it, bringing balance by knocking out Palpatine and himself, I'm like, right. So the dark side. Once the dark side's gone, there is balance.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, because if you're gonna argue that that way of seeing it, that balance is this perfect, like, equal thing, like is kind of portrayed in Mortis, and that's kind of why I have a trouble, like, connecting that, because to me that would mean that if you're selfless, if there's all this pure and goodness in the galaxy, that the Force would be out of balance. So when Luke Skywalker, they're on the Death Star, blah blah blah, Palpatine dies, Vader is redeemed. Now the Force is out of balance.
Right.
That would be like the implication in that.
Right. It doesn't really make sense.
Too many light users. We gotta get some dark users. We covered someone on EFAP who legit was under the impression that it's individual count of users. Like that's how you balance the Force. So if there's 3 Darksiders, we gotta have 3 Lightsiders. If the 3 Darksiders kill the 3 Lightsiders, 3 Lightsiders are immediately born. Like they were convinced that's how the world works.
Right, and it's kind of weird with the Jedi. They're like, balance just if there's 0 Darksiders and like 10,000 Jedi. It's like, well, that's not balanced. So then I guess that's why Dave created Bendu, which honestly, that thing confuses the shit out of me.
Yeah, Bendu's a funny name.
Like, who's this giant cow? Like,
MauLer's also not watched Rebels.
Giant cow?
MauLer's also not watched Rebels, so he doesn't know Bendu, who's basically
there's a giant cow. There's a giant
Bendu
cow.
the giant cow. This sounds like a meme. Are you fucking with me?
I don't think he's a cow, is he?
Bring him up.
Let me look at him.
He's a cow. He's a big cow. He's like a giant cow.
I need to tell Rags and Friggy about this.
He's a giant cow. Is he not? Chat. Like, what is he?
Yeah, everyone knows Bendu the giant cow.
He looks more like a moose to me.
Whatever. Moose, cow, whatever.
You can milk them both. Be careful though. Hold on. Image. I'm pulling up this image. Here we go. Yeah, famously drunk 3BO didn't watch Rebels.
Yeah.
Hey, he's in my team.
I'm sharing it.
Yeah, whatever.
This is the Bendu.
The giant.
Man, he does what exactly? He's like a Force guy.
He's some, I don't know what. A goat, a giant goat with antlers. He's a space goat.
Okay. Yeah, and he kind of
voiced by Tom Baker. Well, that's cool.
It is voiced by Tom Baker, and he's kind of it's hard to describe. He essentially provides guidance to Kanan specific. It just so happens that they end up making base on this freaking planet where Bendu just so happens to exist to give this guidance to Kanan, but kind of teaches him to embrace a little bit different aspects of the Force. Again, this is nothing to do with, like, this is solely a Disney Dave Filoni like work. That's what Rebels is. So
yeah, what do you make of him vanishing with Thrawn?
I don't freaking know, dude. Like I Rebels to me is, I get some people love it, and there's some people I know that like means a lot to them and everything. I'm not a big Rebels fan. I think there's a couple like, cool episodes. I think for the most part, the reason that people are so attached to Rebels is because they're attached to Clone Wars. So they really like when Ahsoka's there. They really like the Maul episodes, like all of that stuff, because of how much they care about Clone Wars. Right. I don't know if the characters of Ezra and Kanan stand by themselves all that much in grand scope of Star Wars. However, I will say that I think that Kanan and Hera's connection is cool, and seeing what Kanan does to save everybody. It's I feel something when that happens, even if I don't really like the characters.
Right.
So I think that Rebels is a little bit worse than Clone Wars, but I get why a lot of people are very attached to it.